The hell's that?
I have no idea, but we are live, CG. So welcome back. How's it going?
I'm doing okay, man. I was humbled last Saturday by freaking Jan Blachowicz, but I'm ready to get back on the horse. And from a viewer's perspective, I think this card sucks, but from a betting perspective, I think there's a lot of opportunity. So I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely. And for those of you who don't know Jason is back. Jay, how we doing?
I'm good. Last week wasn't great, but I'm ready to take down one this week.
Yeah, who was it that you were busting balls? You and Tyler were busting my balls on Diego Sanchez, right?
Yeah, he got.
Okay. We're gonna leave it at that, bro. We're gonna leave it at that. All right, so this is Brews and Bets, UFC on ESPN plus 13. These numbers are getting pretty big at this point. The Randamie versus Lad. I don't know about you guys, but this is like the Team Alpha Male Invitational, no?
Yeah, I think there's like 7 fighters from Team Alpha Male that are on the card. So
yeah, we got a bunch. So we'll try to at least, hopefully, one of us will remember who the alpha male guys are. I know I'll introduce this first fight, and Benito Lopez is an alpha male guy. Benito Lopez is plus 120. Vince Moraes is minus 140. Guys, I'm gonna go back and just check these odds because I wrote these down earlier today, and I just want to make sure that they're still accurate. Can you guys verify that while I get in there? Are those odds right?
yeah, so I have Benito Lopez at plus 120 and Vince Moraes at about minus 140.
Okay, yeah, I'm just here now. That's exactly what I have. All right, so the odds are still the same. I favor Benito Lopez in this fight. I know he lost to Manny Bermudez. I believe Bermudez came in overweight in that fight. I think it was a few pounds overweight. It wasn't even like a pound or two. I think it was like 3 or 4 pounds, if I remember correctly. And a lot of people were thinking that Benito Lopez, he was actually on DraftKings. He was like the darling pick on that card to win that fight. Bermudez actually did a pretty good number on him, was able to get him down and work his BJJ. Vince Moraes, on the other hand, I guess you can say against Yadong Song in his last time out, I think he was a short notice replacement coming off of a Bellator fight. He didn't look terrible, but he didn't really look like he was trying to win the fight to me. It looked like he was just trying to, get his feet wet a little bit, strike. And I didn't see that killer instinct at all. Even in the third round, if you did listen to his corner basically told him to take down Yadong Song, and within like 30 seconds or 40 seconds, Song actually took him down in that third round. So take that for what it's worth. For those of you who watch tape, you can just listen to the corner in that third round. But I kind of like Benito Lopez here in DraftKings and as a bet at plus 120. I haven't put a bet in on this yet, but I'm going Lopez, and the decision prop is minus 190. I actually do like that also. I think that this is going to go to decision. So those are 2 bets that I'm considering here. But CG, welcome back to the broadcast. Why don't you let us know who you like here?
I'm on the same page. I like Benito Lopez. Vince Moraes is just kind of whatever. It was kind of impressive that he went the distance with Yadong Song because we saw Yadong's power last Saturday. And, Song's going to be a legit contender at 135. But besides that, I mean, what is Moraes really good at? I guess he has 5 KOs out of his 9 wins. But Benito Lopez is more aggressive. I think he offers more on the ground. And from a DraftKings perspective, I think he has the likelihood of scoring higher than Vince Moraes. I don't know if I'm going to touch this from a betting perspective. I might, but I just think that Benito Lopez, I think aggression is going to be a key role in this fight. And yeah, I think he should be able to squeak out a victory over Vince Moraes. So yeah, I like Benito Lopez.
All right, Jay, are you in agreement with us? What do you think?
I think this fight's super close. The one thing that Lopez is definitely going to offer is he's relentless. He's going to throw a lot of strikes. So I do like him from a DraftKings perspective. So for the same reason, I think that I'm leaning Moraes in this fight. He's got good wrestling, and Lopez gets just a little bit too wild at times. If he gets too wild and he's throwing, those heavy haymakers that he loves to throw, he's going to get planted. And obviously, I mean, he's okay on the ground, but it's not like Moraes v. Lopez. If Moraes is on top, that Lopez offers anything that Moraes should really be scared of. So I think he doesn't really force takedowns, Morales, and he sets up, takedowns with his strikes, and he's shown a really, really durable chin. So even if Lopez clips him a couple times, I think he can rely on his wrestling a little bit more. And I always tend to slightly lean wrestlers in matchups like these where there's no significant striking advantage. The one bad thing I will say about Morales is that he keeps his hands down, but his chin's proven durable up till now. I just think he's going to take some shots, but I think that his wrestling will sneak out a 3-round decision. Also, worth noting on DraftKings at least, plus 245 for Morales to win inside the distance, which is pretty solid considering he's only negative 140 to win the fight.
I think that line is off, to be honest with you. I'm surprised.
I don't see him finishing this fight either. I don't like betting that at all, but sometimes I go with odds value in tournaments, and especially on cards like this. This card's crazy. There's still
I do agree with that. I don't like, based on what I've seen, I don't like Morales to finish. He's the one who fought in Contender Series, right? Didn't he fight Pilarde?
He was on Contender Series for sure.
Yeah, I just watched that fight earlier today.
I feel like, again, I didn't watch that fight for this. I'm just trying to recall it. But I'm pretty sure Vince Morales was able to beat him up pretty good early in that fight. And then I thought he got subbed like late in the second round, if my memory serves me right. I'll check that while we're looking. The one thing I will say about Benito Lopez is he is team alpha male, so I would assume that, and I don't think he's fought in a while. I don't remember him being on a card in a while. So, definitely could see some wrestling improvement there. But this next fight, I'm actually interested in your take, because I'm kind of going back and forth. This is more or less priced as a toss-up. I guess the value has come in on Van Buren here. But Jay, what do you think here? Brianna Van Buren and Livia Renata Souza.
Yeah, they do have this. It's negative 105, I guess. Souza negative 115 Van Buren. That's at least what it was earlier today. Van Buren's got a ton of money coming in on her. She's negative 27% line movement, which negative is positive when you're talking about line movement. Neither one of these fighters is probably going to finish this fight, but the one thing that I think stands out is, one, Van Buren is 5 foot. She's the smallest fighter in the UFC. So Souza's going to have a significant reach advantage. Not that she's a good striker, but she's obviously a black belt in BJJ. That's sort of her bread and butter under the Maximo brothers. And Van Buren's a wrestler, and sure, she's got a good double leg. She's got good ground and pound, and she's got better striking than Souza. But I think with that reach advantage that Souza possesses, and also with Van Buren's main way to win fights as wrestling, I don't think she's going to want to mess around with taking Souza to the ground. I think Souza can sub her from her back, and I like Souza negative 105.
Interesting. CG, what do you think here?
Yeah, I like Souza too. Van Buren has wins over Jamie Moyle and Kaylin Karan. She's got good submission attack. She trains at AKA. But Souza wins 62% of her fights by submission. She's 2-0 in the UFC. She's got the 5-inch height advantage over Buren. I'm thinking she's going to be the stronger fighter. And just like Jay said, what's Van Buren's path? Do you really want to take Souza down? I just don't know what her path is. I've seen Souza win at the UFC level. I haven't seen Van Buren win at this level. So I think Souza right now, especially at dog money, is the safer bet. So I like Souza.
Yeah, and if there's any opponent on either one of their sheets that I respect more than any of them, it's actually like a Sarah Frodo. I don't know if you guys remember that fight when Souza fought Frodo, right? Didn't Frodo come in severely overweight?
Yes, she looked huge,
and she's huge, and she's got a hell of a left hand. I remember her being southpaw and throwing a heavy left hand. I kind of like Souza here too. There is some things to be worried about. I mean, Van Buren, take it for what it's worth, but in the Invicta Phoenix Rising 1, she actually won 3 fights in a night to win that. So that that is pretty impressive, winning 3 fights.
Oh, she's got great cardio. There's no way that her cardio is an issue at all. But
I mean, again, it's 3 rounds. I don't think Souza really has anything to worry about with cardio. And again, when it comes to cardio with Van Buren, I don't even know how much weight she's really cutting. I mean, at 115, at 5 foot, I mean, she could probably fight down at atom weight, right?
Oh, you would think, but I mean, do they even have that in the UFC? I don't think that's a thing.
No, not in the UFC, but they do have it in Invicta, right? Isn't that what Michelle Waterson used to fight at atom weight? pretty sure Michelle Waterson used to fight down there.
Yeah.
But I agree with you guys with Souza. And that was Vince Morales did lose to Pilarte in a round 2 rear naked choke. So CG, let me start you off with this one. I would start Tyler off with this one if he was here because he's a big Jonathan Martinez fan. But Pingyuan, Liu, and Jonathan Martinez. Now Liu is another team alpha male guy. So what do you think here, CG?
I like Martinez as a dog. I think he's statistically better everywhere. He's a very scrappy dude. And Lou is just low output, only lands 2.9 strikes per minute. He doesn't offer much takedown upside whatsoever. So I just don't know how you can feel confident in him. I'm looking at his stats against Martin Day. Martin Day landed 100 significant strikes to Pingyuan's 55. They both had 1 takedown. I'm sorry, Pingyuan didn't even land a takedown. Martin Day did. So when you just look at the metrics, you wonder how the hell Pingyuan won that fight. So I just think Martinez is safer. He averages almost 4 strikes per minute. He lands 1 takedown per fight. Pingyuan doesn't have the best takedown defense at 55%. Yeah, I mean, you look at Pingyuan's fight over with Damian Stasiak. I mean, that was a very close split decision. I mean, he's just squeaking by, and I don't know how long he can continue that. So I like Martinez for the upset.
Yeah, I agree with you. He is just squeaking by here. I just don't know if Martinez is the one to really get over the top. I mean, he did lose to who was the first loss to?
Sukumtov,
who's, I put a lot of money on that, and he's pretty bad. But Jay, what do you think here?
I'm up in the air about this fight. All the money currently is coming in on Martinez. I get why. He's a high velocity striker, so he has a better path to win if it does go decision just based on output. But he gets hit really frequently. Pingyuan has shown that he's a good, well-rounded fighter. He doesn't do anything great, but he does do a lot of things well. I think he has decent takedowns and trips from what I saw on some of his amateur/non-UFC professional fights. I don't know. I wouldn't bet this either way. And as far as DraftKings is concerned, if I had to make a pick for DraftKings, I'd go Pingyuan. I don't know what his price is. I haven't checked pricing, but he has better finishing odds, so I guess that.
He's actually 8.7K.
Oh, we'll forget it then. Yeah.
All right. The funny thing is, I was agreeing with everything that you said until you said you would play Pingyuan in DraftKings, because I would actually play Martinez in DraftKings. That would be the guy. I really don't know who's going to win this fight. I think it's close enough to a toss-up, and it may even go off with odds value as a toss-up. I just think that it's kind of a dog play here if you're going to play anybody in DraftKings. And as a bet, I'm going to stay away from this. So I don't mind betting Benito Lopez in the first fight. I don't mind Souza in the second fight. But in this third fight, I really have no idea. If I was going to bet anything, it would probably be Martinez if I got dog money. But whoever the dog is probably who I would bet if I were betting. But I'm staying away from that. So I'll introduce this next fight just because I think it's easy, and I'll throw you guys the tougher ones. Darren Elkins and Ryan Hall. CG actually texted me a few days ago. What was it, 2 days ago, CG, just telling me some of the guys that he likes. He kind of texts me and talks shit. He'll send me like 4 or 5
texts. What I do.
Kind of talking shit. And then it's like, I don't even know how to respond. Like, is he just busting balls or does he actually believe in this stuff? I don't know. But I'm pretty sure you have Ryan Hall in one of your crazy parlays. It's either going to be Ryan Hall by submission or Ryan Hall by decision. His first 2 fights in UFC went to decision. Wasn't from a lack of trying for a submission. He just didn't lock it in. It should be interesting here because Darren Elkins, if you know anything about Darren Elkins, he's called the damage because he takes a lot of damage. That being said, Ryan Hall isn't going to strike a ton in the pocket here. So it's going to be distance striking for whatever striking that we do see in this fight. I think Darren Elkins is going to wind up trying to tie him up against the cage. And again, if Ryan Hall is able to get himself down to the ground, you'll see him on his back trying to entice Elkins to the ground at some point, trying to throw his leg in between his legs, to trip him and get a leg lock. What did he beat BJ Penn? What was it, a toe lock?
Heel hook.
Heel hook. That was a heel hook. Again, right now, if you're going to bet anything, I'm going to bet probably Ryan Hall by submission. That's more or less where I think it's going. But I have no idea. I wouldn't bet this fight, to be honest with you. But Jay, what do you think?
I like betting this fight because I don't think Elkins offers much resistance to Hall's submission attacks. I'm a big fan of Ryan Hall. I know a lot of people don't like him because of his fight style. He's sort of boring to watch. I actually think he's super exciting to watch fight. I know it gets irritating when he's constantly missing those leg locks, but the threat of a submission while standing is something that almost nobody else can say. And so he's got a black belt in BJJ under Felipe Costa. He's a master of what they call the 50-50 position, which is sort of where your legs are tied up. And I don't think that anyone else in the UFC really trained against said submission attacks in such weird places, which I think is why Hall has such an advantage in some of these fights. Obviously, Elkins, I guess, could knock Hall out. Hall's pretty durable, but Elkins will win a decision if this goes decision. He's a high output striker, and Hall's just going to be diving at legs. The judges have not been rewarding that of recent. And if I was going to bet anything, I'm betting Ryan Hall. If you can do submission on whatever site you bet on, do that. But if not, definitely inside the distance. He's not going to win a decision. And there's no reason to bet negative 115 when you can get plus 165 inside the distance and maybe even more on the submission bet.
Yeah, and I guess the only other thing to add there is that Darren Elkins is another Team Alpha Male guy. Again, I think we have 6 or 7 of them on the card, but he's definitely another one. CG, I think I know what you're going to say, but go ahead. What do you think?
Hey, this guy gets it, man. We're on the same page. So Ryan Hall is a different breed. He's a different type of jiu-jitsu practitioner. There's a lot of guys that go for heel hooks, Achilles locks, and they just fumble around with it. They can't execute. Ryan Hall, if he gets a hold of your foot, he has people screaming for their fucking lives within 5 seconds. He's so good at it, honestly. So what's Darren Elkins going to do? His striking is pitiful. Plus, he's a wrestler. He's going to want to grapple. So I guess if you were to say that Elkins has a path to victory, it would have to be via takedowns and top position. But like Jay mentioned, Hall's a black belt. He's excellent off his back. He can sweep Elkins. I mean, if Elkins wants to grapple with Hall whatsoever, he's playing directly into Hall's game plan. If he gets that 50-50 position, it's all over. So I like Hall inside the distance. I mean, I got to see what that submission prop is. It's not out yet, but it will be by the end of the week. I'm definitely going to place a bet on that. I'm putting a lot of fucking money on Ryan Hall this weekend, man. Like, a lot of people don't know about this guy if they haven't watched The Ultimate Fighter. Sherdog is showing 3 wins by submission, but that doesn't show all his amateur victories. I think he tapped out a couple guys on the show. I know he tapped out Misha Tate's baby daddy, Johnny Nunez. He tapped out somebody else. Dude, Ryan Hall is not very exciting to watch if you're a casual, but if you like the technical aspects of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA, then you have to watch Ryan Hall. I love him in this spot.
Yeah, I think for the most part, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jay.
There's just 2 things worth mentioning, too. Elkins does have a brown belt in BJJ. And I'm not saying that in any way he can defend the submission attempts of Hall. Just in any other fight, he has decent BJJ. And also, Ryan Hall's what? He used to be an engineer or something. I think that Vegas isn't really considering his fight IQ. He has ridiculously high fight IQ. He never puts himself in dangerous spots. He's constantly working towards, 2, 3, 4 minutes down in the round or whatever. I don't think this line takes into consideration, one, the fact that Hall is such an expert at a very niche area in MMA and his fight IQ.
Not even his fight IQ, his overall IQ. If you listen to this guy break down fights, he sounds like a goddamn robot. I mean, he's extremely intelligent. He never puts himself in compromised positions, like you said. Dude, I think he's going to roll in the spot. I don't know how Elkins can win. And maybe I'm too overconfident. But, I love Hall in the spot, especially at his odds.
Now, are you playing Hall inside the distance? Are you playing him by submission, or are you playing it?
So right now, I have him as a parlay piece. I'm waiting for that submission prop to come out, and I will bet that. But I mean, if you watch the Gray Maynard Ryan Hall fight, I mean, Gray's obviously a Division I All-American wrestler, and he didn't even really try to take Hall down, if memory serves correctly. I mean, you can't. I mean, you don't want to grapple with him at all. So, yeah, I definitely want to play that submission prop, though.
Yeah, I mean, Hall wins inside the distance right now is plus 165. So, I mean, I don't think submission's going to be much better than that.
No, I think submission will be plus 170 if you get that. Plus 165 probably, actually.
Yeah, it's about the same. All right. I'm not even going to discuss this next fight, so you guys can talk about it. I guess, CJ, I think you told me you like Julianna Pena, so I'll introduce it to you. Julianna Pena is minus 165. Nicco Martinez plus 145. The reason I'm staying away from this is because Pena's been out for 2.5 years. Martinez's been out for, I guess it's 1.5 years at this point. She was supposed to have the fight. 2 people here that actually didn't want to fight the champion, right? Jermaine the Randamie in the main event didn't want to fight Cyborg. And Montano basically didn't want to fight Shevchenko. She did have a SADA issue. I'm not really sure exactly what was going on with the USADA issue, but she's up to 135. I think on the tough show, she won it at 125, never defended it, and then now is up at 135. So, CG, what do you think here?
I like Pena a lot. Montano was taken down twice by Roxanne Modafferi and absorbed 132 strikes in that fight. I think Pena is much better than her, really in every facet. I mean, especially the grappling, though. Julianna Pena is a very good wrestler. I think people are forgetting that Julianna Pena lost to Shevchenko in her last fight before she went on that long layoff. I mean, that was a title contention fight. I mean, the winner of that fight ended up getting the shot at Amanda Nunes, I believe. So, I mean, Pena has wins over Jessica Ai, Kat Zingano. I mean, she's legit. But, yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty, right? She's been off for a very long time. I think more like 18 months. But if she's even 75% of the fighter that she was before, I think she cruises. She has decent striking output, 3 strikes per minute, but lands almost 3 takedowns per 15 minutes. I think she can win a grappling-based decision, maybe even score a finish.
All right, Jay, what do you think? I'm not even making a pick here, so it's up to you. No plays for me on this.
I hate to keep agreeing, but I think you're spot on. Obviously, Montano has decent BJJ. She works under Chris Jones. She has a purple belt. She has okay boxing and decent clinch work. In the fights that I've seen, she's really struggled with takedown offense, even though she's tried. And I don't know. She's not going to want to take Pena down anyway. Pena has pretty good kickboxing, so I think she can win standing. She has better BJJ. She's only ever lost to Shevchenko in the UFC, and she's fought some pretty stiff competition. I mean, no one great, but no one that's been terrible. And for Montano, she just lost to, I don't know if you watched last week, Julia fought on the undercard. She won, but Montano just lost to her in a lesser-known promotion. In a fight that she really didn't look great in. I think Pena wins if this stays standing. I think she wins. I think her kickboxing is better than Montano's boxing, and I think she definitely wins it.
All right. And she's coming back from a baby, right? She just had a child? That was the reason for her layoff?
I believe so. That's what I heard. But it looks like, Pena's losing momentum on the betting lines. On Sunday or even on Monday, she was minus. That's not too bad. Yeah, Sunday. She was minus 195. Right now, she's minus 170. I don't really care. I just don't understand how Montano has a path to win here. I don't know. I like Pena.
Yeah. I'm staying away because I just don't know what's going to happen with these two. The layoff's been a little bit too long for me. She had a baby. She had USADA issues. She's first fight at 135. Too many variables here. This next fight, I feel like it's 2 guys who never get any respect, and it's Andre Fili and Shetmon Moraes. And I guess we're all more DraftKings. We all bet. There's more DraftKings involved in our breakdown a lot of the times, and I feel like Fili and Moraes are those guys who are always the underdog. You're always getting a great DraftKings price. They're like 7.4, 7.5K, and they just kind of outperform that price. So I'm always playing them, so now I like them. So in this case, I remember CG and I went back and forth last time Moraes fought, right? That was in UFC Philly. I was cage side for that, covering that. Fought Sadiq Youssef. CG, I know you wanted Youssef by knockout, right? You
I badly.
Your early week talk shit text to me was basically Youssef by knockout. I said, bro, Moraes is tough. It's going to go to decision. I wasn't necessarily picking Moraes. I think I actually was on Moraes earlier in the week, but then I just stayed away. I know I didn't bet it. Andre Fili, on the other hand, I feel like his last few fights, I know I was on. I'm clicking on him right now because I can't remember their Miles Jury, right? Miles Jury is the guy he beat last time.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so Miles Jury, he looked really, really good, in my opinion, in that Miles Jury fight. I think that Michael Johnson decision was very, very close. He beat Bermudez, he beat Lolov. Cater, obviously, I think I'm pretty sure Cater beat him. But he could be on a 4-fight win streak. That Michael Johnson fight was paper thin, and I thought he looked really good against Jury myself. He's going to have a little bit of a reach advantage. The thing that if I have to make a pick here, it's Shetmon Moraes. Again, Andre Fili is a Team Alpha Male guy, but I just think that Shetmon Moraes with his kickboxing, I don't think this is going to go to the ground. I don't think Fili is going to be able to get him to the ground. I know he has his wrestling, but I think sometimes he kind of struggles with guys that, because he's so much bigger. I think he struggles with smaller guys that are short and compact like Moraes is. And Moraes is quick, man. He has really, really quick hands. And just real quick, just so that, people that know MMA and know UFC, know opponents, Moraes is 11-3. His 3 losses are to studs. Sadiq Youssef, who CG can talk about, loves the guy. Zabit, who, just about everybody loves the guy. The guy has he basically went to like a high school and college for MMA. And then Marvin Moraes, who, was just in the title picture and probably won, right? He won round 1 against Henry, and then Henry turned it on with whatever injury he had. So if I'm gonna pick anyone here, it's gonna be Shetmon Moraes. The fact that he was able to stay up with some of these guys, and again, Shetmon Moraes beat Julio Arce and actually hurt him real bad. I thought he was gonna finish him. Matt Sales, who another guy you love, Matt Sales.
Yep.
All his opponents. So yeah, I'm on Shetmon Moraes. I haven't put a bet in yet, but it may be coming. So Jay, what do you think here?
We agree. I was going to point out that all of Moraes' losses make sense. If he would have beat any of those guys and he was a -115 favorite over Fili, I think everyone would be smashing that line. He's a blue belt in BJJ, purple belt in judo, brown belt in kickboxing, and knows Muay Thai. I think he has more ways to win than Fili does. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be a close fight. It's not. I don't think Moraes is that much better than Fili. I could see this going either way, but if I was going to make a bet, -115 Moraes would be it. And I think that with the way that this fight's set up right now, the way that the line movement's been going, I think Fili might flip at some point in the week. If that happens, then I would bet Moraes then instead of doing it now.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then again, if that line does flip, Fili would be very, very popular on DraftKings this week. CG, what do you think here?
God damn it, guys. Like, I thought for sure one of you were going to be on Fili. I know a lot of people like Fili as an underdog, and it makes sense. You look at his fight metrics, 4 strikes per minute, 2.5 takedowns per fight, and then you look at Shetmon Moraes' takedown defense, it's 53%. And I'm big on the data, I'm big on the fight metrics, but sometimes the metrics can be overstated. Moraes' 53% takedown defense is primarily because he was taken down like 11 times by Zabit. But then he improved that takedown defense with his fight against Julio Arce. I think Arce went for 5 takedowns and only executed 1. Moraes stuffed the other 4, and he just looks a lot better. You can tell that he's putting the work in. And one thing about Moraes is he's very methodical, very smart fighter, very good counter striker as well. And Fili's not a good boxer. I mean, his striking's kind of ugly. Like, Fili's like a well-rounded guy, don't get me wrong. I mean, he maximizes his potential and stuff, but to me, he's kind of like the pillar of mediocrity, right? Okay, takedown defense. He can get you to the ground, but he doesn't really have good top control. Striking, he hasn't knocked anybody out in like 4 years, so if he stands and trades with Fili, he could get slumped. So I just think Moraes is the smart pick here. However, I would not recommend taking him in DraftKings because he doesn't score highly. He only lands about 3 strikes per minute and doesn't offer any takedown upside whatsoever.
So Jay, let me tell you how, I just told you earlier in the week, CG sends me like 4 or 5 text messages. Half the time I don't know how to read into them. So let me tell you what he did to me this week. So I sent him my plays, some guys that I like.
Is this a CG roast? What the hell's going on?
I'm just telling the truth. That's all I'm doing. This isn't a roast at all. I'm just trying to let everyone understand how our long distance relationship works. You know what I mean?
Fair.
So I'm on Mike Rodriguez this week. And CG goes, really? Allan? And then doesn't say anything after that. So now I'm like, wait a minute, what does CG know that I don't know? Because now I feel like he's leading me on here, right? So now I do all this research on John Allan to try to figure out why he was saying that. So all I can tell you is he fought 2 weeks ago. He's a Muay Thai base, and Mike Rodriguez is going to knock him out. So I'm on Mike Rodriguez here, and I don't really know why CG said that. So, Jay, I'm going to let you go, and then CG can explain to us why he texted me that and made me do all this extra research for no reason. So, Jay, what do you think?
It must have just been a trick to make you do extra research.
Exactly.
You didn't need to do any more research. Rodriguez is going to knock him out.
So, CG, why did you make me do this?
Okay, you have to remember, I'll send a text message, and then my 2-year-old takes my phone and runs off with it and throws it somewhere. So, but I don't know if you've done all of your research. So why are you so confident in Mike Rodriguez? I get it. He's 6'4", he's 205, 82-inch reach. He's got a lot of, just good physical features, I guess you can say. But the guy's not very technical. I mean, he beat Mirsad. Was it a body kick? I think it was a body kick.
Not for nothing, but I think he could have beat Mirsad however the hell he wanted.
Okay, but before that, he got taken down and laid and preyed on by Devin Clark. You know what I mean? So with Mirsad, it was a knee to the body and then ground and pound. I guess Rodriguez does have 8 wins by KO. So I saw John Allan fight Alexander Silva. It was
the guy 2 weeks ago.
Yes. So John Allan has good technical striking. Did you see that left hook that he landed to knock out his opponent? That was pretty legit.
He threw 35 left hooks and 25 right hooks. That's like they were just trying to take each other's head off.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. It's going to be a brawl. I think it's going to be a little bit risky. I don't think it's just going to be one of those fights where Rodriguez goes in there and stomps him. But then again, you know what? He was supposed to fight John Vellante, right? Vellante had to pull out?
Correct.
I think Vellante had to pull out. So, yeah, call John Allan or whatever. We know he's going to accept the fight. So, I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned. Like, I just don't feel like Rodriguez is refined. I just feel like he's this raw talent. We don't know much about him. So, okay, Rodriguez is probably going to win, but just exercise some caution. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I already put him in a parlay. Minus 420. I got him a little bit better than that, but
if John Allan wins this fight, I will be relentless for the next 3 weeks. Just want you to know that.
And rightly so. All I can tell you is, and again, John Allan has a little bit of BJJ finishing on the ground too, I believe, but he's mostly a Muay Thai guy. I don't know. I think Rodriguez is going to knock him out.
So Allan has never been knocked out, by the way. So John Allan lost on the Contender Series, right, to the dude that just got knocked out by Eric Anders.
Yeah. Correct.
So Allan lost 5 times. 4 of those losses were by submission. So we'll see if Rodriguez can knock him out.
And I'll tell you what, if anybody else wants to throw him in a parlay, I would play inside the distance at minus 315. If I could do this all over again, I would play inside the distance at minus 315 because I think Rodriguez is going to knock him out. But if these guys are going to trade like CG's saying, and I think they are based on what I watched on film, I think this is going to finish inside the distance. So I think that's a better line than Mike Rodriguez. So instead of playing Rodriguez, I'd play inside the distance in any parlays. Just
that's a very safe line, I think.
So Jay, go ahead. Let me throw it to you. We keep stealing all your luster here. Cezar Ferreira and Marvin Vettori. Right now we have Vettori minus 150 is what I wrote down this morning. And Ferreira's plus 130. And I think that line was a little bit wider, earlier in the week. But what do you think?
Hey, real quick, Jay, what are you drinking? What beer are you drinking?
It's not beer. It's champagne because I'm fancy.
Oh, damn.
Man. Steve, you drinking a Zima?
No, I'm drinking agua.
Okay, proceed.
All right. Well, I like Vettori. I know Ferreira is the 3rd-degree black belt in BJJ, and he trains with Vitor Belfort, whatever. He has an inability to win stand-up decisions, and Vettori is super young. I think he's 25. I could be wrong about that, but I think he's 25 or 26 years old. He has a split decision loss to Israel Adesanya, obviously, who's fighting for the title, or I guess the joint, whatever it is. He's not a champion. He's fighting for the title. I think he should be getting better every fight. I think you should see a much better version of Vettori than you saw last fight, even though he was good in his last fight. He's got decent wrestling, and he's got some BJJ under Filippo Stabilia. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not. He's got better odds to finish inside the distance. I could see Ferreira sneaking this one out, but I think Vettori has the better striking. Should be able to stand up if it does get taken to the ground, and Ferreira just if the fight stays standing, Ferreira just has not historically been able to win.
Yeah, and I think we should note also, I think Vettori's coming back from a USADA violation too, right?
Ooh, is he?
Anybody know that? I'm pretty sure Jay mentioned the Adesanya fight, and that was a split. A lot of people actually thought that Vettori may have won that fight. But yeah, I think he had a USADA violation right after that. CG, what do you think here? I actually agree with Jay. On the feet, Ferreira, I mean, he got pieced up by Ian Heinisch, and he also, and that was a grappling heavy fight early in that fight. Heinisch was able to get out of a couple difficult situations in that fight, but for the most part, Ferreira was getting pieced up in that fight. But what do you think, CG?
So yeah, but Ian Heinisch has very good takedown defense, excellent cardio, and Ian Heinisch is a goddamn dog. I mean, he just beat Carlos Jr. too.
Yeah.
I don't think Vettori has the same level of takedown defense, but both of these guys are submission specialists. Vettori has 8 wins by submission. Ferreira has 4 wins by submission, but has fought the stiffer competition. Ferreira has wins over Thiago Santos, Anthony Smith, Hermanson, Roberson, who we're going to be talking about in a little bit. Vettori was taken down 4 times by Carlos Jr. He wasn't subbed, but I'm wondering if this fight goes in a similar manner, because Ferreira can get the fight to the ground. He lands 3 takedowns per fight, and he has similar BJJ credentials to Shoeface. You look at Vettori's fundamentals in terms of takedown defense. He doesn't do the little things like, if his opponent's going for a single leg, he doesn't push off the body, he doesn't push off the face, he doesn't really go for underhooks right away. Vettori's just takedown defense in general concerns me. I think this could be a spot where Ferreira gets into the ground and just lays on him, and it's just kind of a boring grappling match. So that's my concern. Ferreira has gas tank issues. He definitely gassed out against Heinisch, but Vettori has gas tank issues too. That fight against Akhmedov, I mean, both those guys were gassed out. I think this is just going to be an ugly fight. I give the nod to Ferreira, but Ferreira, he's definitely not somebody I'm willing to bet on, because he has not only gas tank issues, he's got a terrible chin. I don't know how many times he was knocked out, but it's a lot. So Ferreira was actually he's been KO'd 4 times. So if Vettori touches that chin, it could be lights out. But tough fight to predict. I'm not going to bet it either way. But gun to my head, Ferreira.
Well, I'll tell you what, CG. Sometimes you start breaking down fights, and then a bet comes to me, and I like round 3 Vettori. And if Ferreira, like let's say Shoeface, right? He was able to basically get Vettori down. If Ferreira is able to do that, and Vettori is able to stay out of harm's way, Ferreira is going to be exhausted by round 3. We saw that against against Ian Heinisch. So I'm calling round 3 Vettori now. And that was actually the first bet. I don't know if you guys watch my DraftKings pod, but I put $100 on Sabajian last week by submission. That hit. So I was up like $600 right there. Then I put Yadong Song by knockout, hit that one.
Wow.
Hated the Gedelia fight. Again, we were at like a card party, not a card party, but poker game, and the fights were on, and we're betting all the fights. So then I bet Vera round 2 by submission, hit both of those, and then the first prop bet I lost was Arnold Allen round 3, He should have knocked out Melendez in round 3. He had been compromised.
He could have if he wanted to. I don't think he really wanted to.
That's exactly the way I looked at it. And I heard his interview and hated what he was talking about. My next bet, the last one of the night, was Masvidal, KO. Obviously, that paid off. Everybody in the world knows that one paid off. And then, unfortunately, I had like a $700 worth of parlays on Amanda Nunes winning, and I wasted $100 going the other way on Holly Holm just to hedge it. It was just a waste of $100. But yeah, I made a real good amount of money last week. So,
damn.
All right, let's go to this next fight. And again, I'm not going to introduce this because I'm a homer for Karl Roberson. So, Jay, why don't you tell me what you think? Karl Roberson's minus 225. Wellington Turman is plus 185. And again, Roberson he trains in Jersey. He's part of Frankie Egber's crew down South Jersey, Central Jersey. Very good friends with Corey Anderson. So he definitely has some grappling wrestling partners that he can train with on a daily basis. And that could be where Turman's taking this, Jay. So what do you think?
Yeah, well, so Turman's making his UFC debut, and I want to sort of do the same thing that CG did with Mike Rodriguez, and I'm definitely not going to pick Turman to win this fight, but I think exercise caution with Roberson. He is a kickboxer. Turman's the kickboxer, sort of. Turman's got decent trips. He's got BJJ. He does have a lack of professional experience. He hasn't fought nearly the level of competition that Roberson has. But Roberson has shown questionable submission defense, obviously against guys like Glover and Ferreira. Both of them finished him via arm triangle choke. He's got some wins in the UFC, but he beat Darren Stewart, who I guess is okay, and then Jack Marshman, who I don't know. I think Turman is more of a live dog than the odds are giving him credit for. Negative 22% live movement on Roberson since open. I don't know where he must have opened right around negative 180 or so. He's negative 225. That's what I got. I don't know. He might be higher now. That was earlier today. He's got good inside the distance odds. I like playing him on DraftKings, but I just think Turman is more of a live dog than people are giving him credit for. And I think the only reason that he's not getting any credit is because obviously he hasn't fought in the UFC yet. That matters, but I don't think it matters that much.
Yeah, Roberson opened at minus 155, and at one point was all the way down to minus 128. And then it kind of got steamed, I guess, as it opened up to more books. Roberson is a very, very good kickboxer, very good striker on the feet, very powerful. That fight that you referenced against Teixeira, that was actually at light heavyweight, so that was at 205. He got pancaked and submitted, but for the most part, striking early, he was able to touch up Glover a little bit early in that fight. CG, what do you think here?
Dude, once again, I'm with Jay. I'm not saying that Turman's going to win the fight, but he was the one fighter that I did not research until just before the show, and I watched like 3 of his fights. The guy's not bad. He's got basic striking, but he's like in the clinch, he's got some really tricky takedowns. Like he's got I saw him do like an inside leg trip, and once he gets your back, he does really good transitions. Like his BJJ is very fundamental. And if he doesn't get around your neck right away, it's just a matter of time before he gets there. And Roberson, both of his losses came by submission. If Roberson gets taken down, he could be fucked. Turman is somebody that I will play in a large field GPP on DraftKings because this guy could break the slate, honestly. Roberson does have the edge standing, but Roberson also has 57% takedown defense. And when he gets taken down, he's a fish out of water. So if you really like Roberson, do your research on Turman. And there are even some videos of Turman on YouTube competing in BJJ tournaments. Like the guy's legit on the ground. I want to say, he's got 15 wins, 7 by submission. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to take some chances on Turman and DraftKings. I don't know if I might throw like a half unit on Turman. Why not? I think the guy could be dangerous, and I think he's live in the spot. I really do.
This is kind of a good first fight because if your striking isn't up to par, then Roberson is going to beat. and then we'll all know where he is. But if he's crafty and has a way to get this fight to the ground, then it's open for him to win.
Yeah, exactly that. If he doesn't, if he's comfortable kickboxing with Roberson, he's going to get his head taken off. But I don't think he will be.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Again, hopefully, if for his sake, he doesn't get his head taken off before he realizes that.
Right. The guy's only 22 years old too. He's got a pretty good fight IQ.
A lot of fights too. He's 15-2. That's what
15-2. He's never been finished. Lost both of his fights by decision.
Okay.
Still has his chin.
I like Roberson, but again, I'm telling you, I'm a homer. This next fight for me is tough. I think that this line should be closer. I'm actually surprised. Let me see what the line is right now. And this is Mirsad Bektic and Josh Emmett. And right now it's -160, so it actually is closing up just a little bit. But Mirsad Bektic, I mean, he's 13-1, and if he doesn't gas against Darren Elkins, I mean, if Darren Elkins is ever going to live up to the nickname Damage, that was the fight where he took so much damage. I mean, I don't know how the hell he probably. I was going to say I don't know how he was walking the next day. Probably wasn't walking the next day, to be honest with you. But Bektic, he gassed himself out. Couldn't get him out of there, and that's his one loss. So I mean, he could very easily be 14-0, top 5 at 145, kind of, maybe one more win away from a title shot. Right now, again, he could put himself in that same position here with a win against Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett is tough, but let's be honest, against Michael Johnson, I was cage side at UFC Fili, and he was down 2 rounds. He was down 2 rounds when he got that third round knockout. He's tough. He's got good wrestling. So I know Bektic likes to mix in the wrestling. We're back to another Team Alpha Male guy. So it just seems like anytime you talk about anyone from Team Alpha Male, they have good wrestling and they can't get taken down. Although I think Urijah Faber's getting taken down a little bit. But this is a tough fight for me because I do like Josh Emmett. He was actually a guest on Brews and Bets back for UFC 229. I think that was the Habib Connor card. Josh Emmett came on and broke down fights with us. I like both of these guys, so I'm going to say it's a pick 'em. No bet for me. I guess, CG, what do you think?
I'm taking a decisive stance in this fight. I love Josh Emmett. The one thing that pisses me off about this guy is he's a very slow starter. There's not a whole lot of urgency. You watch the fight against Desmond Green, and it's like, just get going. If you're not going to fight, then get the fuck out of the cage. Same with Michael Johnson. If it wasn't for that flash knockout, then, then he would have lost that decision 30-27, But you look at Emmett, he lands more strikes per minute, and in my opinion, he has more impressive wins. Bektic has good size. He has the height advantage over Emmett, but they have the same reach advantage at 70 inches. So Emmett's going to be shorter. He's going to be difficult to take down. Plus, he has that collegiate wrestling background. He's fighting in his hometown. I love him as a dog. Yeah, I mean, I like Emmett a lot in the spot. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think he might be better everywhere, honestly. You look at Emmett's takedown defense, it's concerning at 50%, but that's because of his fight with Scott Holtzman. Holtzman took him down like 5 or 6 times, I think. But besides that, he's improved his takedown defense. And if Emmett can turn it into a slugfest, Bektic could definitely get knocked out here. So I like Josh Emmett a lot.
What do you think, Jay?
I think I lean Bektic slightly, but I understand the Emmett pick. This is a bad matchup for Bektic, I think. He tends to rely on his wrestling whenever he gets in trouble on the feet. I think they're about even strikers. Bektic might be a little bit more fluid on his feet, and I think he's got faster hands, but also him gassing is a concern. And him gassing in that fight that he lost just shows questionable fight IQ. I mean, you got Elkins. You're winning. It's not even close 2 rounds to none. And you head into the 3rd round firing haymakers and end up eating a shot that loses you the fight. I don't think he'll do it again, but definitely questionable fight IQ. Emmett wrestled for 14 years. He trains with Faber. Obviously, he's got great wrestling. He was a collegiate athlete. Bektic's got relentless pressure, so I like Bektic's pressure. Obviously, Bektic also wrestling skill. I think they're even on the feet. I got to give slight edge Bektic, but if I was going to bet this fight, I think I like the 140 better than the negative 160. I think it's an even fight. Coin flip. So I would take the odds on Emmett.
So just curious, what do you think the path to victory for Bektic is? You think it's going to be like a striking based decision, or?
Yeah, I would think he would have to outstrike him for 3 rounds, or I mean, you let the chips where they fall in the wrestling exchanges. If Emmett gets on top of Bektic, Emmett can probably keep him there for at least a couple of minutes. If Bektic gets on top of Emmett, the same thing. So I mean, you got the trip, the scramble, and then boom, whatever happens after the scramble, there's your round for 1, and then do that 3 times, and it's basically
Just another thing about Bektic that I really can't get behind him. I mean, he had that split decision win over Lamas, but besides that, look at his wins. Godofredo Pepe, Russell Doan, Lucas Martins, Paul Redman, and Chaz Skelly by majority decision. Yeah, I don't know. And the guy is always such a massive favorite. He's not in this spot, but I mean, I just feel like there's so much hype behind Bektic, and yeah, he's got the physical attributes, I guess. But like you said, I just don't feel like he has the intangibles. He doesn't have the grit. He doesn't have the heart. I don't know. Just gives up.
Well, Josh Emmett definitely has the heart, man. I mean, the guy, his jaw got broken, right? And he had a cracked orbital against who was it? Jeremy
Stevens, yeah.
Right, with that illegal knee.
That was brutal.
So I mean, the guy is definitely tough as nails. I think too, you can see a lot of. Let's just say that we can't, they don't get that trip takedown or anything like that. I can see a body lock just kind of grinding the other guy out for a minute and a half of a body lock, trying to get that takedown. Maybe like taking away a leg, getting him down to all fours, getting back up, kind of thing. Just winning rounds like that, like kind of cheap rounds. I think Emmett's got to use some wrestling himself here. Against Michael Johnson, he really just struck with him.
So I'll just come out and say it, Steve, because I know you're going to bust my balls at some point. I have a lot of money on Josh Emmett. He's like my main parlay piece. But my concern is, and you guys alluded to it, he has a very difficult time getting inside. You watch that fight against Desmond Green, and Desmond Green just jabbed him for 15 minutes. It's just like, figure out something new, have a game plan, modify your strategy, and it's very frustrating. Same thing against Michael Johnson. I mean, at least he figured it out in his last fight. He got in there and landed the hook. But I pray to God. I mean, if Bektic just sits on the outside and jabs him for 15 minutes, I'm turning off the fucking TV and going to bed. I swear to God.
That's the one thing. He seems far too comfortable taking damage. I mean, yeah, he's proved that he's got a great chin, but why are you eating punches that are it's points at that point? You're trying to win a decision, so
yeah. And why does it take him 10 minutes to modify his strategy? Like what you did for the first 2 rounds obviously didn't work. You know what I mean? And I don't know. You think that'd be something that you'd figure out after round 1, But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's his corner. I don't know if it's the lack of his own execution. Who knows? But I think he's in a great spot to win right now. So let's go, Emmett.
And again, CJ, I don't think you bust your balls at all if you're betting Josh Emmett. I think that's the value of this. You know what I mean? At 45. Win or lose, it is what it is. Everything okay over there?
Yeah, the camera fell, man, when I hit the desk.
All right. All right. This fight, honestly, I don't see a path to victory for Urijah Faber. I'm a little annoyed that I didn't get Ricky Simón when he was down minus 220. I saw that minus 220, and then it got cleaned, and right now it's minus 355. I'm on Ricky Simón. I actually have him in the parlay. Unfortunately, it's in the 300 range. I wish I would have gotten him in 200 range. Jay, I'll throw it to you. What do you think here?
Yeah, I don't really see how Faber wins this fight either. He's got some cardio concerns. I know he's been doing like BJJ tournaments, whatever, grappling tournaments, but it's a whole different game when you're talking about 15 minutes in the UFC and a BJJ grappling tournament. Obviously, Faber's a great wrestler, but I'll take Simón. He's proved that he can defend against BJJ in the fight against Randamie, and this is a bad matchup for Simón stylistically, and Simón now and Faber 10 years ago, I might be betting Faber, but not anymore.
And again, there's guys with good cardio, and then there's Ricky Simón, going through 14 minutes of Merab Dvalishvili and still being able to sub him, whether you even want to call it a sub or not, we're not going to start this debate again, but the fact that he was able to hold that sub for a minute after 14 minutes of that kind of grappling, I mean, that's another level of, just cardio. And it's impressive. So CG, now that your camera's back, what do you think here?
I apologize for the technical difficulties, but no, you're right. So I would compare Ricky Simone to like a Matt Favola. Like the cardio's insane, and I love that shit. It's like he takes a bunch of Coke and Adderall and just grinds it up, throws it into a Monster Energy drink, and just chugs it before every fight. The guy is nonstop energy. Yeah, you look at his wins. If you're a casual, you see Dvalishvili, Montel Jackson, Hani Yahya. You're like, oh, okay, whatever. Like those are legit wins.
Bro, Montel Jackson
legit wins. Montel Jackson is very legit. Even Hani Yahya. I mean, the guy is so crafty with his jits, and the fact that Simone was coming in there, Yahya, I was thinking, you're not going to grapple with me. Simone would just pick him up, dump him on his back, and walk away. Like that was just cocky. Yeah. And he even scored highly on DraftKings because, like, I didn't know how that was going to score at the end. But, I mean, Ricky Simone is legit. I don't know. You look at Urijah Faber, he's 40 years old. And you can be DC at 40 years old and still be successful because you're a heavyweight. You're more reliant on power and technique. When you're at 135, you need to rely on speed, footwork, movement. It's a young man's division. You cannot compete at bantamweight being 40 years old. So the fact that Simone is still, what is he, minus 350? Honest to God, that's not a bad line. He's going to fucking cruise here. Simone is in like 8 of my parlays, honestly. So I love Simone in this spot.
Bro, you have 8 parlays?
Yes. Yeah, I'm throwing down a lot of money on this card, man. I'm very confident. I'll send you my picks after the podcast.
That's crazy.
Dude, just honest to God, I could honestly make a DraftKings lineup with underdogs on this card. I've never seen anything like it. I'm not going to, but I mean, you could.
Yeah, there's underdogs. Underdogs with a shot to finish and win fights. I agree with you. And again, I was actually sitting cage side for that. That was UFC Atlantic City against Merab.
Yeah.
And Merab has a work rate like you wouldn't believe. So the fact that he could go that long in the fight, and they used their work rate in that fight. I believe that was Ricky Simone's first fight in the UFC, and was able to finish his first fight in the UFC in the last minute of the fight after that kind of a pace was just – there's no way Urijah Faber is going to be able to go that pace.
Right now, Ricky Simone's landing almost 7 takedowns per fight, 6.75. I think he took down Jackson like 10 times or something.
And that's actually why I won. So that played out on the feet, and Jackson wasn't tired from all those takedowns in the first round or two. I think that Jackson may have been able to win that fight. I have a very high opinion of Jackson.
And don't forget, Faber's 40 years old, and he has an infant. So really that makes him like 47 years old. You know that, Steve. We both know that.
You guys saw how my son was over here. He wasn't trying to let us get any sleep tonight.
Right.
But,
what is Simone on DraftKings? I didn't look at prices yet.
9.3K.
So one other thing that I wanted to bring up very quickly. So you look at Simone. I kind of like Simone by decision. So in 10 losses, Faber was only finished 3 times, all by KO. He's not easy to put away. And in 15 wins, Simone won by decision in 8 of those. So Simone doesn't even have a finish rate greater than 50%. So based on those facts, how do you guys feel about Simone by decision? So my only concern is that Faber's just so goddamn old, he might have nothing left. But, Faber's a tough guy. You have to give him credit for that. So Simone wins by decision, minus 165. Yeah. It brings the line down, but is Simone going to finish Faber?
I just wrote it down. I think it's a great play.
Yeah, I think Faber's crafty enough to get out of this fight.
Yeah, Simone's more of like Simone's got a very high fight IQ. He kind of just has a risk-averse strategy in all of his fights. He just might be comfortable with, grinding out a decision. So, yeah, I think that minus 165 line is pretty good.
And for DraftKings, that's why I asked about his price tag. Faber obviously is a great wrestler, And the one thing that great wrestlers can do, even when they're 40 years old, against other great wrestlers, is once they get taken down, stand up. And if Faber can stand up in this fight and it goes 3 rounds, Simone's got a ceiling of like 150. I mean, he hit 10 takedowns in this fight.
Rinse and repeat.
Yeah, he's in my lineup. He's definitely he's the first guy in my lineup. Now, Jay, I'm going to throw this main event to you first, only because I know how CG feels about it, and CG and I went back and forth on this. I want to get your take, and I just want to know what you think before. So, Aspen Ladd, Jermaine Randamie. I keep saying this every time either Jermaine Randamie or Holly Holm is on a card. But I was at UFC 208 when they fought in the main event. It was the worst card in UFC history, and I paid for my ticket. Last time I went, and I actually paid for a ticket because after that I've had the press credentials and I've been going to the fights, working for MMA India. So that's the last time I paid for one, and yet it was the worst card in UFC history. So Jay, what do you think here? Break down this fight for us.
I will very likely be putting a large sum of money on Aspen Ladd at -170. It's been moving in her favor, -20% line movement. She is inside the distance odds of even, so you can get $1 for $1 on that. I don't necessarily like that. I don't think she could finish Day Random. I mean, she could. She's a purple belt in BJJ, so she's got submission offense. She's good at wrestling. She's undefeated, obviously. This is a bad matchup for Day Random. She's a Muay Thai specialist, a boxing specialist, and she has yet to prove that she can defend takedowns. I think Ladd's going to plan her. She's going to use her BJJ, try to find a submission finish, but I don't necessarily think that happens. In 5 rounds, perhaps, but I mean, you know how it is. These kind of fights never usually end in finishes. I'll take Ladd via decision. I would bet just Ladd -170. I think this line should be closer to 250, 300, honestly.
All right, CG, tell him why he's wrong now. Go ahead.
Okay, so the takedown defense has been solid. GDR has not been taken down. So, God, people on Twitter are just berating me.
She hasn't fought anyone who's got pretty good takedown. I mean, Ladd level takedowns.
So, I disagree. So, the last 3 fights that she's been in, there have been 22 takedown attempts on her. She's defended all 22. And that's what people kept on saying. So, I tweeted that out, and then people got all fucking butthurt for whatever reason. And, it's just one of those things. I'm throwing out a perspective. And I just don't understand why people get so fucking pissed off. But Rocky Pennington has fought in the UFC 10 times. She's landed at least 7 takedowns in those 10 fights. She has scored 2 takedowns on Jessica Andrade on 2 occasions. She even took down Miesha Tate, who has a wrestling background. So a lot of people are saying, yeah, but Pennington's takedowns are ugly. Who gives a shit? Takedowns don't have to be sexy. Look at Alexei Oleinik, who's fighting next week, I think. He averages like 3 takedowns per fight, and his takedowns are disgusting. It doesn't matter how you get somebody to the ground. You just have to do it. So the fact that Randamie's been able to defend the last 22 takedowns, I mean, yeah, Nunes took her down easily and beat the snot out of her, but it's Amanda Nunes. She's the GOAT. So I just think that although that is a fear of mine, I mean, Aspen Ladd is a very good wrestler, and Aspen Ladd's ground and pound is spectacular. But I'm not sure that Ladd can get it there. And if the fight remains standing, Randamie is light years above Ladd with the striking acumen. So at the line, I think Randamie has a lot of value. I think Aspen Ladd's going to get lit up. Eubanks landed more significant strikes against Ladd in that last fight. So Ladd won the fight primarily because of the takedowns. So if GDR can defend the takedowns, it's not even going to be close. Not even going to be close at all. So in Randamie's last fight against Pennington, she went for 8 takedowns. Randamie stuffed all of them and just kind of picked her apart. So, I mean, Randamie is on a different level with the striking. I love her. I have a lot of money on this fight right here, and if I lose, I'm going to fall on my sword. But I like GDR.
All right, so GDR trains at AK, right? She's 5'10". Ladd is 5'6". She's going to have a 6.5-inch reach advantage. I honestly didn't even pick Jay, just so that you know. CG, as you know, I set myself up a few times here. CJ just kind of makes these sends 4 or 5 texts in a row, makes these bold predictions, and then just leaves you thinking about what he just said.
It's because I'm at work taking a shit. I send out some text messages and I have to go back to work. That's what I do.
There you go. So the truth, the truth. So he was all over, JDR, and I'm like, really, all I was telling him was I was just trying to, I'm going to stack this in cash in DraftKings. So I never really made a decision on this fight. I think that there's reasons to go both ways. Lad has a very high pace. But Jay, do you think that Lad can win this fight if she doesn't get takedowns?
Probably not. Only because if she's getting stuffed by GDR, it's in the clinch, and if she's Muay Thai clinching with GDR, she's gonna get lit up. So shoot for takedown, then work against the cage. If it doesn't happen to get down, GDR hits her with some elbows and some knees, and they break and they go back to striking. That's obviously not gonna win in the judges' eyes. I don't think Lad can beat her boxing either. This fight has to hit the mat. I would venture to guess at least 3 times for a Lad win, unless she finds a finish, which I think that she can do if it hits the mat with like 3 minutes left in the round or so. She needs some time to work to get there, but I think she can get there if she gets a takedown early.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree really with what CG said, and exactly what you just said is what I was thinking. So I'm in agreement with that, which is why it's just like I see this as a closer fight than minus 170 at this point. So if I'm going to bet anybody, it's probably going to be dog or pass just because of that. But I think I'm going to stay away just because I think there is value. If there's value, it's going to be on JDR. But
yeah.
I don't know. I don't see Lad winning the fight if she doesn't get the takedowns.
Yeah, the one thing I do want to mention though is I think Lad gets these takedowns, and I think she gets them rather easily too. So
again, CG doesn't think so. You know what I mean? So that's what's going back and forth in my head.
If Lad wins this fight via takedown and ground and pound, I will deactivate my Twitter account because it's just gonna fucking blow up.
Well, bro, you want to be off Twitter anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'm not a very active dude on Twitter, and then I posted that. I just said, based on the line and based on GDR's recent takedown defense, it gave me a massive erection. And then everybody started commenting on it, and then people got pissed and blah, blah, blah. And some dude tagged Aspen Ladd saying, you've been warned. And Aspen Ladd liked it. So I feel like I'm haunted now. So basically, I have Aspen Ladd digitally talking shit to me. So
I hope she tweets at you if she does win, and she's just like, fuck you.
I'll accept it. I'll fall on my sword. I just feel like there's a lot of good data supporting GDR. I really do. Ladd's striking is terrible, is it not? It's so rudimentary, just so basic and ugly. But her ground and pound is fierce. And she starts screaming like Jukagian.
She walks forward and it's like a rock and sock and roll. She just throws right, left, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Yeah.
To close distance, grabs you, and then throws you down to the ground.
Yeah, she's not using her striking to collect points or do damage. She's just using it to get inside.
She's also doing that against Lena Landsberg and Evinger and, Eubanks too. So, I don't know. Not a believer.
And that's another great episode of Brews and Bets. So I don't know what else to tell you guys. I'll have my DraftKings breakdown will come out on Friday. I'll try to get it out earlier this week, although I do have some things going on Friday. Last week it was later in the day. CG, anything else you got coming out this week?
No, follow me on Twitter, CRG1010. Just go easy on me if GDR loses, please.
Yeah, it could be the last week of his Twitter. Jay, what else you got this week?
Well, me and Justin just launched our new bet package, so that's available at Karma. So check out my Twitter for that. It's Bales T Jason. So
okay, and you got the Quan Edge, right?
The Quan Edge article will be out tomorrow. Yeah, that's every week.
Every week with Tyler. Tyler should be back next week. All right, guys. Good luck this week with your bets.